Well, the OECD has been associated with this very important World Government Summit since its inception. So we've worked closely with the World Government Summit for more than a decade, and it's a very important opportunity to look forward, to drive innovative thinking, focus on best practices, and indeed, I mean, every year this is a way to really focus on the challenges and opportunities of our time. And it's very good to be back here as the OECD with a strong delegation at the 2024 World Government Summit. Well, the UAE is a very important economic leader in the region. The UAE has performed exceptionally well in driving economic and governance innovation, and as a key strategic hub economy across the broader Middle East. And from the OECD's point of view, we are very pleased to be working with the UAE across a whole range of economic policy areas, including competition policy, small and medium-sized business, governance, tax, you name it, and increasingly also about social policy areas like education, skills development, and so on. So we hope that we will be able to continue to strengthen and take to another level what is already a very good relationship between the OECD and the UAE. Well, the global economy has proven to be remarkably resilient after very significant shocks like the COVID pandemic, the energy price shock, high levels of inflation, the monetary policy response that was required, geopolitical tensions around the world, pressure on global trade, yet the global economy continues to grow. There is significant downside risk still. There are structural challenges like the climate challenge, the effective response to climate change, digital transformation, pressure on our global trading system, and more. But there is a need for increased levels of global cooperation. There's a need for good economic and social policy, and there's a need for governments around the world to come together in summits like this one to find the best possible solutions and the best possible ways forward. So our assessment is for the global economy to grow at 2.9% this year and 3% next year, which is, as I say, continued growth. It's less than the historical standard, and so growth has moderated compared to what it was. But given everything that's been going on in the world, given all of the pressures we're facing, it is actually good news that the economy continues to grow. Well, the global economy has proven remarkably resilient and able to adjust to some of the challenges. I mean, there was a very significant structural shift in global trade in the wake of the pandemic. There was a shift in the composition of demand, and there was a shift in the global trade dynamics generally, and of course there were significant supply chain vulnerabilities exposed by the pandemic, but the world has been able to adapt. The world has been able to adapt to the energy shock and to the inflation challenge, and of course policy responses from governments and central banks around the world have helped facilitate that. But we've got to make sure that we continue to tackle both the short-term pressures and the longer-term structural challenges in front of us. Well, some very significant new milestones were reached at COP28, in particular when it comes to climate finance, being able to operationalize the loss and damage report with a $700 million US fund provided by developed countries around the world. Significant progress on the $100 billion climate finance commitment. Not quite there yet, but we believe that in 2022 the data will show that advanced economies have been able to provide or mobilize $100 billion in climate finance. There is still a long way to go, but at COP28 here in Dubai, a lot of progress was made, and that will be good in terms of the global fight against climate change. So in terms of the $100 billion climate finance commitment, we provided our report on 2021 because we have to go through a process of verification of the data, and in that year the data shows that about $89 billion US were provided or mobilized by developed countries for developing nations. That is still just over $10 billion less than the target, but it was more than 8% additional compared to the previous year, so it's accelerating growth. And we believe, based on the preliminary data that we've seen, that in 2022 the $100 billion target was actually met and exceeded. Well, this is across the spectrum in terms of emissions reduction efforts, climate adaptation, as well as climate mitigation. And one of the key challenges is to ensure that there are enough projects around the world to be able to utilize that climate finance so that we can optimize the emissions reduction impact.